Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another live stream. Today, we are going to draw 1920s clothing. If you want to nerd out about art, our prof has everything you need from tutorials to critiques to a community of fellow art nerds. So, Jordan, you actually created a series of clothing drawing tutorials with Clara, and I was not present for those, and neither did I watch them. So I actually don't know any of the names of the folds that you guys talked in your video. So you're going to have to remind me what everything is.
Sure, no problem. So basically, just to give you guys the loose concept, with clothing, there are 7 unique types of way the clothes will fold, depending on if it's on an arm or a leg, depending on the type of fabric, that if it's thick or thin, if it's leather versus cotton or silk, and then just the way your body is moved or positioned. So there are. Let me think. I need to write these down, I think. There is the diaper fold, then zigzag. And I won't demonstrate them all right now because you can watch the videos for that. I'm just trying to remember the names. There's pipe, fold, half lock. Oh shoot! I just remembered I have it on another tab. I can just look at that. Yeah, why would I do that? That would probably be a genius idea. But they come up in different scenarios, so all it is really just knowing when they appear and how to recognize them. And so I'll try and bring those up when they happen. But these are the 7 or 6 fold types, and then drop fold. There we go. Now you won't know. So how are you starting out with your sketch? What's your process?
So I am starting out with a very light color just to put down the form of this lady I'm drawing. And then later I will go in with darker colors and put in more details and fill out the colors and simulate the textures of all this clothing.
Why'd you want to start with this one? Because we started at the beginning of the stream, like, where are we going to draw? And you picked this one like immediately. So I'm curious now.
It was just the first one that appeared in the list, and I was like, okay, I wasn't too picky about it. Sorry.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine.
We have a comment from Neil that says, Kat, you're not starting with a pencil? Oh, that's a great question. So no, I don't really like starting with a pencil because the graphite can just turn the colors muddy and it can smear a little bit. And I just don't like that look. I mean, sometimes it looks good. Some people use it as a choice. But when especially with these lighter colors, I really don't want to use graphite. So that's why I use a lighter color marker. And then I will layer on colors to the point where you probably can't see the light marker under drawing anymore. And by the way, I'm using Tombow markers. They're great. I also have this scrap piece of paper here, so I can also see what colors I'm going to have before I put it down on the paper. Because the color of the cap never quite matches the color that is put down on the paper.
That always irritated me about markers because I felt like it's false advertising. It's like, no, I bought this specifically for this color, and now it's inaccurate. Now I have to readjust how I think of color, and then I have to re-examine my trust issues.
We have a comment from Rocky Raccoons that says, I am so inspired by other decades, especially 1920s and 1960s. I actually am practicing 60s makeup looks when I can this summer. Ooh, yeah, there's just something about how these fashion trends are so different from one another that within the decades, I've noticed that a lot of fashion trends nowadays have become they evolve a lot faster. What do you think, Jordan? Especially with like TikTok and everything, trends seem to change so fast. Like recently there was Visco Girl, right? And then I don't know whatever trends are happening right now.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I don't really keep up with fashion trends, but I do notice that that things are starting to come back. Like not just fashion, but even like hairstyles and stuff, like stuff from the 80s and 90s is starting to come back. Like there's a certain vibe to them. And I think it also just depends on obviously personal preference, but there's a different way someone who's really into, like classy, elegant, 1920 style, there's a different way they would approach things versus someone who's like really into hip hop or rock and roll culture,
Mm-hmm.
So. Comment from Neil, Jordan, I love your wet graphite piece. Can I buy it for $6 million? Yes, you can. And we will donate all that to Art Prof. I have no problem with that. I'm so glad you enjoyed it.
Yeah, who here watched? Sorry?
Oh, no, you go ahead.
Oh, I just wanted to ask who here in the chat watched the 100,000 celebration stream we had yesterday. Jordan was not present, but he watched it later.
Yes, I was literally on a plane and trying not to be late because it took off like the plane took off right as I got to the gate, or right when I showed up. So could have almost been stranded in San Diego for a night, but that wasn't. One thing I did want to bring up though, looking at the reference photo, this is a type of fold. This will be a zigzag because you could see it's just going like boom, 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 boom. And you see that on both thick and thin fabric, but it's primarily on a cylindrical object like an arm or a leg is where you'll see that. So just so you all know.
Thank you, Jordan.
You're welcome.
Clara is asking, Kat, why are you blocking in the couch first as opposed to blocking in the figure first? I consider the figure part of the setting. I can't just draw the figure without drawing like a hint of the couch she's sitting on, right? If she's sitting, she has to be sitting on something. And same thing with clothing. I can't just draw clothing. I have to draw the person who's wearing it a little bit. So it's all about context. And the couch also has some great shadows that I just wanted to block them in first using my big base color.
That's actually a really good point you brought up, Kat, about drawing the figure underneath the clothes, or at least having an idea of what it should look like. So I feel like that's a trap that a lot of people get into is they don't have an understanding of what's happening underneath the clothing. And so then to dictate that by using the clothes and then combining the folds and all that stuff becomes really challenging. Mm-hmm.
So I started out with some lines, but now I'm actually just blocking in color, and that's how I'm going to work with this particular marker drawing. But later on, I'll show you different methods of how I use marker as well.
Let's see. Look how elegant the 20s and 30s styles look. It's just so fun and fancy. Like you don't really see people dressed like this anymore. It's really cool.
Right.
At least I don't. Not where I walk. So.
Yeah, I mean, if you lived in New York, maybe you'd see this more often. You'd see everything in New York.
Yeah, well, I was literally just there 2 days ago. I didn't see it, unfortunately.
Dang, sorry.
Yeah. Neil says, Kat, do you draw with markers a lot?
I used to, but then I went into art school and I figured out a different medium I liked, which was pen and ink. But I'd say a lot of my high school art was actually marker art, especially in my sketchbook. So yes, I've drawn a lot with it, but I kind of stopped recently. Actually, this is the first time I'm picking up marker in some years.
I know the question
like
wasn't.
Sorry.
No. You weren't done.
I was just going to say it's like an old friend.
I was going to say, I know the question wasn't directed towards me, but the last time I used markers, like legitimately, I think it was Crayola in like middle school. So that's how much experience I had. Because I wanted to get Copics when I was a kid, but then I found out there were several $100s to get like the whole set. And I was like, yeah, that's not going to work. That's not going to work.
Clara says, Kat, I'm going to recrop your screen, so I'm going to switch to just your faces for a minute. Sounds good. Man, I don't think this lighting is the most flattering lighting situation ever on my face.
Why? What's wrong with it?
I would prefer if it was like directly at my face rather than casting all these shadows.
What's the setup? Like, do you have like a lamp or something, or like, what's going on?
Yeah, I do have like a really powerful, like professional light so that you can see the artwork well, but I wish I could have the best of both worlds and it could show my face well too.
Gotcha. You should get a little ring light that you can plug into your computer.
Yet another thing I need to buy.
$10.
I will say though, like I have a Mac computer and I don't have enough outlets. I only have 2, which is ridiculous.
Oh, yeah, I had to get like one of those little extension things. I don't think I have the box on me, but it comes with an extra like 4 USB ports, and I got it for like $10 or something, and it's super useful. Tara says tips on how to draw clothing. Okay, you want to start with that, or should I?
Tips on how to draw clothing. Maybe you can start with that, Jordan, because you did clothing streams kind of recently, so you might have like a little setup in your mind already.
Okay, so some of them we actually gave a few minutes ago, and Kat said it perfectly about understanding what's happening underneath the clothing, or like what the body is actually doing. So if I were to draw on this reference photo, let's just say, to have her head here, we have the angle of her shoulders. We see that her waist is about here. This is probably where the butt is, where she's sitting, and just understanding what's happening, figuring out that pose, and then it's just a matter of analyzing, what type of clothing is it. So for today's topic, we're doing 1920s style clothing, but what happens when you have a leather jacket or a scarf or a glove, something that's really thin, like the shirt that she's wearing, or blouse or dress, whatever. I guess it's a dress. Like it's like really thin silk. So paying attention to that and types of folds. Those are like the biggest things for me. What about you, Kat? Do you have any others?
Totally agree. But we'll go more in depth into this, but the kind of cloth that clothing is and the type of clothing it is as well. I mean, Jordan mentioned the leather jacket, which is like a great example, but beyond leather jacket, there are also like pattern clothing, silk, bedazzled clothing, or nowadays we have tights, right? Tights function totally differently from a fur jacket. So being really wary of how the clothing fits on the body and what kind of material it is made out of will also help you draw them.
Oh, another thing I just remembered, the thicker the clothing is, the less folds you'll generally see. So, for example, if I zoom in on the silk dress, there's a ton of folds and wrinkles and stuff. But when I get to the fur coat, there aren't nearly as many. I mean, the most you could say is the zigzags here, but for the most part, it's not the same. So keep that in mind as well.
Neil is asking, Kat, any tips for color matching / mixing with a limited set of markers? That's a great question. Usually when I go out and draw in plein air, I just grab like a handful of markers like this. And sometimes I don't even choose them. I just literally grab a random set and head out. And, a lot of the times it's not a case of color matching. It's more of a case of, does this portray warmth or coolness or light and shadow better? Because I won't have the exact color match for whatever I'm drawing. For instance, right now, this is a yellow dress, but I don't have a really good selection of yellows. As you can see from this is really neon yellow. It doesn't give the same feeling, but it is sort of like a cooler tone dress, which is why I use this more minty green for the shadows. So just getting a feeling of the light and the shadow and the warmth and coolness of those colors are what I'm choosing my colors based on, not necessarily getting the correct color ever.
Jordan, why did you just fill everything in brown? So the reason I did that is because I'm looking at this photo here and I'm thinking about the overall local color, and it has a very muted brownish kind of feeling. And so I wanted to start with that just to get, just to get some immediate accuracy with minimal effort. And I'm just kind of playing around. I don't plan on making this a 1-for-1, like it has to match perfectly like a master copy, but kind of like that, just getting the overall vibe of what it's supposed to feel like. I think is kind of what I'm trying to go for.
That's the moral of the story, just vibes. That's how you make art.
Yep, gotta get those good vibes. There's a DJ I like to listen to on Instagram named Be Nice, and he's just like, his catchphrase is like, "It's a vibe, y'all. It's a vibe." He just keeps saying that for like hours. It's great.
Who picked the 1920s theme? It definitely was not me. Was it you, Jordan?
No, I think we can blame Clara on that one. I just saw your comment. Is Benedict Cumberbatch a vibe? Only for Clara, I guess.
Only for Clara, yeah. Jane is saying, I have a lot of Tombows, but only really use them for relaxing with an adult coloring book. I always thought they were too streaky for my own art pieces. Tips? Well, sometimes you can just own that streakiness. Like, for instance, if you look at mine, you can see the strokes, but the direction of the strokes suddenly becomes a lot more interesting that way. It's a point of pride with the Tombows, I guess. Like, it's a point that really stands out. So use that to your advantage. I know there's also artists out there who naturally have a shaky hand, so their lines are also a little shaky, and they just own it. They just make art with a purposeful shaky line. But if you're really looking for that smooth, broad swath of color without any marker strokes, I would recommend Copics, but Copics are super expensive. Sometimes you're limited by your material, but you can use that weakness as a strength.
Yeah, like what I said in all the videos. Turn your artistic weakness into your strength. We've done enough videos where we can just quote each other now. Great. Don't even realize it. I might put some small shadows, and then I'm just going to move forward to the next one.
No, okay. I might stick with this one. Sorry?
Oh, you do what you want to do. You're just going to do it.
Stick with this just a little longer.
It's a tough skin tone to capture. I don't even think I'm getting it right, but whatever. It's all good.
The skin tone is super orange. It's the same tone and color as the dress.
Right. That's a challenge I'm facing. I'm like, yeah, but I want her to look like she's naked. Like, I can't just, That's a challenge I'm facing. But interesting how much it changes whenever I take the lines off too. It's like a totally different piece. W315 Bird says the Tombow colorless blender can really help knock down the streakiness on the right kind of paper, working for me on Strathmore marker paper.
Ooh, tips from the chat. That's great to know. Yeah, I almost never use the blending marker ever, whether it's Tombow or Prisma or Copic. I almost never use it. Maybe because I'm afraid of it. I should try it out sometime.
What are you scared of?
I don't even really know how it functions. I was always like, oh, the way I draw with the markers is already fine. Like, what do I need the blending brush for?
Gotcha. Look at that. Hopefully you guys all copy this cheat sheet because I'm about to delete it off my thing. It's messing up my vibes.
All about the vibes, people. Vibes.
Yep, that is the theme for today, vibes. Kat, you're missing out. I love the blending brush so much, so incredibly satisfying.
Well, maybe that comes from your background as a painter, Clara, because I think it definitely makes the markers more painterly. But I'm using markers for the sake of markers, not paint.
Felt like a subtle burn there just now. Miriam says, I'm afraid of painting with markers. I haven't tried in a long time. It's just scary the first time, I guess. I feel you don't know how it will turn out.
Well, if you're going to stay afraid, Miriam, you're never going to pick up those markers. So it's better to make 100 bad drawings and not draw at all. So that's my advice for that.
There's actually a quote that I learned at school, and I think Chuck Jones said it, but I haven't done the research. But anyway, the quote says, "We all have 10,000 bad drawings in us. The sooner we can get them out, the better." And I really like that because art is just like anything else: music, cooking, exercise, whatever. It takes a while to get used to. Most people aren't very good when they start, and it's a mixture of repetition and consistency that gets them to a level where they start getting really skilled. But it all comes from taking that first step.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, by the way, guys, one thing I'm doing, I talked earlier about understanding what the body is doing underneath the clothing, and my reference photo right here, you can kind of see what's going on. But I'm basically just sketching out what the pose is, or what she's doing with this pose. And I can fuss with it as much as I want to, but ultimately it starts with something like this. Then I'll build the pose on top. As W says, I got 10 billion bad drawings. You know what? So do I. I have so many terrible drawings. I'm right there with you, buddy.
Ugh. This satin silky dress is really annoying.
What makes it annoying? Is it the color, or is it like the folds, or what?
The fact that I can't totally color match that yellow, even though I just told Neil that I'm all about creating the vibe of the color. It's just like, how cool or warm is it? Is it light or shadow? But no, I do want to get down that it's a yellow dress. But it's okay. It's okay if I don't.
The cool thing about that though is like everyone who's watching the stream gets to see the live, unadulterated mess ups we make in our work. Like, yeah, this turns out pretty bad, and I gotta find another solution. I wish my drawings came out perfect all the time, but they just don't.
Rock says, hi, is it better to start with the lights or the shadows in clothing? Ooh, okay. Well, in my case, because I'm making this drawing in marker and it can only get darker the more I add to it, I start with the shadows, but that's because of my medium. Jordan, do you have a preferred way of starting considering you're doing digital?
I also like to start with shadows first, just because it helps immediately separate dark from light, and it can help distinguish the form. But I think it also depends on what medium you're using. So sometimes, like with watercolor, starting, you could start with the darks, but you can't really get those back. So sometimes it's easier to just layer it on very slowly. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think that is it's more of a case of the medium when drawing clothing, whether you or anything really, if you start with the shadows or the lights.
Yeah. And I mean, the thing is with digital, I can do whatever I want. Like if I decide, like there were times where I decided to completely restart a whole painting because I'm 30 minutes in, it's not going anywhere. I'm like, you know what? I'm not gonna lose a whole lot if I start this over. So let's just try it this way. And oftentimes that actually ends up going okay.
Joe says, Art Prof is making me draw. I use black ballpoint pen only before Art Prof. I tried color, graphite pencil, charcoal, colored pencil, digital, and now I want to try markers. Joe, we are so happy to hear that. Absolutely step out of your comfort zone, and we're glad that we can be a part of that journey.
That's so awesome. I love that people are inspired to draw just from watching us and hearing us talk and share about our experiences. You know, it's really very fulfilling, actually. Okay, I have a question for you, Kat. I don't know. Is there a technical term for like these super loose pants that are just like almost like skirts? Is there a word for that?
Trousers.
Just trousers?
Socks? I'm not even sure. I never studied apparel.
I'm just curious. Someone in the comments.
Maybe, yeah, someone in the comments would probably know. Ryan says, I really like the colors on the dress. Thank you. Wait, the colors I used?
Neil said scants and
Oh, palazzo pants. Yes.
That's what they're called? Or are you just excited
Yeah.
about the phrase? Oh, okay.
No, that's what they are called. They're like big, wide, loose pants, basically.
Got it. Thank you, 315 Bird. Palazzo. That's a fun word. Palazzo.
That is definitely Italian.
Sounds so fancy.
Palazzo.
Right? Doesn't it sound like a place you want to vacation at? Like, I'm going to the Palazzo Hotel or something. You know, it's like.
Yeah, that sounds so pleasant. So maybe some of you have noticed that I'm switching to the thin tip rather than the brush tip. And I have no reason why. I just wanted to do it.
Love the honesty in that. I always I always have those memories in English class where we're reading a book and the teacher's always like, "What do you think this represents?" And then we come up with some like major philosophical reason for like the reason why the curtain is blue. And I would go back to the office and just be like, "Is that what you thought? Is that what you're thinking?" And they'd just be like, "Yeah, I just wanted to make it blue. That's it. I just like it."
Yeah. Sometimes that's the truth. Sometimes you don't have to think too hard and assign meaning to everything. There was a stream that I did recently with Lauren where it's like, does my art need to have meaning? And we're like, if you wanted to. Neil says, Kat, what paper are you using? This is just a mixed media paper. I just grabbed the first thing I saw that could handle marker, and I'm being very honest today. I just grabbed the first sketchbook I saw and just went for it.
Yeah, honesty is good. That's the same thing that I do. I just draw on copy paper that you get from like Office Depot or something. It's like I don't use anything fancy outside of digital tools. Ryan says sometimes it's fun to just draw pretty things without any thoughts behind it. Yeah, I agree. I feel like that's one of the burdens that a professional artist doesn't like. That's one of the burdens that we have. Is sometimes we're like so focused on our projects and getting things done for a client, but when you're maybe a hobbyist or when you're just having fun, there's so much freedom in that. A lot of people lose sight of over time.
Okay, I think I will move on just because I want to show you guys the different ways I use marker. But after I finish these hands,
For it.
uh, Grandidia is saying ZT suit was from the 40s. Pegged ankle weight leg, big lapels, padded shoulders. This is a different language that I don't know.
Is that what I'm drawing? Is that I think that's what I'm working on. If so, thank you for letting me know. Because I just draw what I see. I don't always do the research that I should, which can be a good or a bad thing depending on the scenario. But sometimes you're in a situation where you can't just, like, if you're sketching in the park or on the subway or something, you can't just always Google what people are wearing all the time. Just gotta go for it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm gonna move on. Oh, sweet! It didn't bleed through the back.
Ooh.
Should I just draw on the back? I don't know. I don't like it when this spiral binding is on my right because I'm right-handed.
Oh, I get that. Yeah, I'm similar except with the opposite hand because I'm a lefty. But
Or,
I wouldn't
you know what
paper if I were you.
I'm not that serious about this piece though. I'm going to draw on the back of it.
Oh boy. I just realized, I've been staring at this drawing for a couple minutes. I just realized she's holding a golf club. I didn't even realize that. I thought that was like some sort of
wow.
staff.
I'm going to go with, which one should I go with now? I'm going to go with the bejeweled lady, the one wearing the weird chain thing on her head.
Jeweled lady with the chain thing. Okay.
I'm going to start with purple. And I'm going to draw with only one line.
Oh, snap. Why do you want to draw with only one line?
Well, that's another way I use marker. So, oh, this is too light for you guys to see. I'm going to switch to something darker.
Oh, right now, by the way, guys, I'm using this square brush I got from a brush kit from Patrick O'Keefe, and it was on a website called Learn Squared. He sold his brush pack with a course he taught on 2D illustration. So, yeah, if you're curious. I like it because it helps me just lock in colors like really quickly. I don't have to fuss over opacity or anything. It just goes for it. And it's actually a really fun exercise to just quickly sketch different styles of clothing out like this. I think I need to do a challenge like that myself.
Jazz says, my great grandma started wearing pants in the 1930s and she got so much slack for it. Women only wore dresses and skirts back then. She was the talk of the town. Jazz, your great grandma's a badass. I love to hear that.
I don't know what I was expecting you to say, but I wasn't expecting that.
Okay.
It was just funny to me. It's just funny. It's like, huh. That is really cool, though.
Mm-hmm. Ugh, I'm concentrating, so I can't read all the comments. I'm only drawing with one line. Jordan, can you get that comment? Thank you.
It's directed towards you, so I hope you're ready. It says, Kat, are you concerned about the proportions being off when you draw with one line only? Ooh, that's a good question.
Yeah, kind of, but also I almost feel relieved. I'm like, oh, I'm drawing with one line, so no one's actually going to expect me to get the proportions right anyways. So I should cut myself some slack too.
I've always been really intimidated by doing drawings with a single line. It just, I don't know, for me, I don't know if my mind processes things that way. I don't know.
Well, maybe you should give it a shot, Jordan.
And I give it a shot. I'm gonna need constant reminders. I can already know that about myself. Because I would have these like lofty goals and just be like, I'm gonna do it, and then about 2 minutes in, I forget. Oops, I forgot the purpose of this whole thing.
Okay, that's my one-line drawing.
Oh yeah.
Now I'm gonna go in with a different color and draw another line. Because there are some things I missed, like I didn't get her necklace. I want to give some indication of the textures of some things. Yeah, I'll use that color. But I like how there's empty space, like there's no neck here or this part that doesn't connect right there. That's the beauty of one-line drawings. You don't have to draw them all sometimes. Jordan, do you have a particular fashion style that you like?
I always like 80s clothing, like the stuff I see in John Hughes films. Like there's something about that that just looks like so much fun. And
Mhm.
I always joke with my mom that I was born in the wrong era. Like I should have been born about 25 years before I actually was, I think.
Mm.
I like
And yet here you are.
Yet here I am, old soul. It's all right. I'll manage somehow. What about you? Do
Is
you have
there
a particular favorite?
I do like parts of the 70s. Now I say parts, not all of it. Um, I like their dresses and I like their weird pants.
Bell bottoms?
Yes.
Bell bottoms are the best.
Yeah. I like how they make my legs look long.
Well, you're already pretty tall. I don't know if that's all the clothing.
I I would be delusional if I thought that was all the clothing. Jordan, you're pretty tall too.
I guess so. I'm one of the shortest men in my family, so I never really think,
Wow.
yeah. So for those who don't know, I'm about 5'11", and all the men in my family, my dad included, they're all like 6'2" and above. And like, like, my cousin is 6'4", 6'5", my uncle's 6'3", my uncle's 6'5", and it makes me kind of sad because one time I went to visit a family member and they hadn't seen me in a couple years, and the first thing they said when they saw me was, "Wow, I thought you'd grown a little bit more by now." Like,
Oh.
ow, love you too. It's fine. Any
Clara
tips?
says, any tips for drawing shoes? Jordan, hint, hint.
Well, first, learn how to draw feet. Because like seriously, because the shoe fits on the foot. A lot of times people will just draw a shoe and it doesn't make a whole lot of sense because no foot could reasonably fit in it. And they'll be looking like, you know, something like this. Like no one's shoes are shaped like this. So you have to think about, the insole or the heel and the arch of the foot and things like that. So figure out how the foot's supposed to be, and then make sure you draw the shoes around it. And one other little tip I'll share with you guys really quickly. There's always a little bit of an arch the foot. So let's say this is the back. Terrible shoe, but it never is flat against the surface of the floor. There's always like a little bit of a curve right there. So that's something that a lot of people don't recognize, but I find very helpful. You know, okay, going back to what you were saying about 70s clothes, I remember one day when I was a kid, we had this event at school called 50s, 60s, and 70s Day. And so we all got to dress up like as whatever era we wanted to do. And I actually suggested it. Originally it was 70s Day and they expanded it. And so I remember going to the thrift store with my mom when I was like 10 years old. And I got a silk leather, or no, sorry, I was saying a silk leopard print collared shirt, a denim vest with a giant sunflower on the chest, bell bottoms, and then platform boots that were like 5 inches tall. And I got a rainbow headband and I had an afro already. And so I just walked into school feeling like such a boss. And it was amazing. The sad thing is I don't think there are any pictures of me.
Oh, I was just going to ask about pictures.
I wish I had them. I would totally share with you guys. I don't think I have any though. But it was freaking epic. That's all I can say.
Oh man, I wish I was there to see it.
Yeah, too bad you didn't know me in 2005.
I don't remember doing any like time period dress up. Oh, well, actually in high school I did do 1920s, but I feel like that's such a go-to era for dress up.
Really?
Yeah, it's like, oh, the Roaring '20s. Let's all dress with flapper dresses and let's all walk in with suits or whatever. It's so easy to do because people have it. It's like so iconic to people.
Oh, that's fair. Yeah, that makes sense. I used to work at a party store and they had a bunch of that stuff.
Case in point. Clara says, Kat, would you consider what you're doing right now to be an underdrawing? No, I would consider this to be the final drawing. If only I had done it in a darker marker, a darker color. But this would be what my sketchbook looks like. It doesn't have to be painterly for it to be finished. It can be kind of cartoony. Like this is very different from this, right? I'm going to move on. I'm going to do something else.
Go for it.
Maybe I should draw one of the suited up men.
Ooh.
Oh, well, there's also the suited up woman that you're drawing, Jordan. I'll draw the pink man.
Pink man. Seven Angelic says, I can see it. Jordan as the Lost Jackson 5 member. That's exactly what I looked like as a kid, actually. I've said that exact thing to people where I look like Jackson. My little afro. One of these days, I'll share a picture of me with an afro as a little kid. I have them. I just don't have them at the ready for you. So maybe I'll post in the Discord. Actually, you know, I'll post in the Discord later. Just remind me. I'll post in Discord.
Somebody had better remember and remind Jordan to do that. You know what?
Favorites.
I'm going to go with this garish blue color. I'm going to try it out.
That's in the marker?
Yeah, so I'm just going to start out with it. Should I do the thin side or should I do the painterly side? I'll do the painterly side since the last one I did was the thin side. Let's see, I should start here and here. Okay.
Oh, in case you guys are wondering what I'm doing right now, I'm selecting parts of the painting that I did and kind of I'm inverting that so that later on I can fill in the background colors and not affect anything in the actual figure. It'll make more sense when I'm actually show you. But yeah.
So the way I'm using markers is just I'm having fun with it. You saw me be kind of painterly before, and then the second time I was drawing with one line, and now I'm choosing this really garish blue that I would normally never draw with and drawing with it. And it's just good to have fun. This is all what I would consider my sketchbook drawings, but they might be even better than what I usually put in my sketchbook, actually.
Yeah, so I basically just selected outside of figure, and now I can run my mark or my brush all along the thing, and I don't have to worry about it affecting anything. Really nice.
Joe says, I watch old films. The only trend I don't like is crop top for men. Unless he's a rock star, then it's okay. Is there a particular rock star that wears a crop top? I don't know why, but I'm thinking of, he's not a rock star, but I'm thinking of George Michaels for some reason.
George Michael. You know, I don't recall seeing him in one, but doesn't mean he didn't wear it. I don't know him well enough to be able to confirm or deny.
Did Patrick Swayze ever wear a crop top?
I don't know.
Is that his name, Patrick Swayze?
That is probably his name. Or yeah, that's the other thing about 80s fashion. It's just interesting. Like, because a lot of people got away with a lot of stuff. You know, actually, I remember seeing a meme one time. It was a picture of Prince and Michael Jackson, and it said, "The only two men who can steal your woman while wearing her clothes."
Nah.
Because Prince is walking around in high heels, Michael's wearing a skirt. Remember the time? So it's just funny. I was like, you know what? Yeah, you got a point.
A bold era.
Yep.
W315 Bird says, he must have because I'm thinking of Patrick Swayze too. Yeah, Patrick Swayze just seems right in a crop top, I guess. Lisa says, my grandma gave all her grandkids a perm. The photos are gems.
Oh my gosh, perms.
Actually, it's a thing among the women in my family to get a perm, so their hair is like poofy and curly. And one time, my aunt and my mom were in the same room, and it was like a weird connection. Like she's distantly my aunt or something, and my distant cousin, who's the daughter of that aunt, goes like, "So, are your mom and my mom related?" And I said, "Yeah, can't you tell from the hair?" And then people started laughing.
Some people can make perms work. Will Smith wore a crop top in the 80s. Did he? Huh. Was it like on top of a shirt? I remember I think it was the first episode of The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, he wore a crop top, but it was over another shirt. And I think he was wearing a suit or something. I don't know if that's exactly what you're talking about, but interesting.
Good for him.
I actually really like Will Smith. He's a lot of fun to me.
Mm.
Have you seen his recent workout videos that he's posting?
No.
Okay, so if you follow him on Instagram, he got like a major dad bod in during COVID, right? And so
I remember that.
yeah, so he's like, I got to work this off, and so what he's been doing is posting videos of himself actually working out, and it's hilarious because he's just a silly guy, and I find it rather enjoyable all the stuff he does.
Jazz says, I Googled it. Will Smith was bare midriff in the 80s crop top.
Huh.
Wow, I'm learning so much today.
This is why I said earlier I should have been born earlier, just so I could see that, and it'd be like, wow, okay.
Not just so that you could see that, so you could partake in that.
I don't know if I would be able to get. I don't know what that would, but I would love to be able to rock some of the like the jackets and the sweatsuits. Like LL Cool J, he had a bunch of cool sweatsuits, and I always wanted to be able to wear some of those. He just looks so fresh. So good. Totally could have been a b-boy in the 80s. Interesting pattern. How does this even work? I'm trying to figure out how this. How did you put this on? I'm trying to figure this out. Using dress. Jordan, how will you capture the translucency in the photo you're doing right now? I don't know. I will figure that out momentarily.
That's a lot of art making. It's like, I don't know. Let's give it a shot.
Yeah, I mean, the first thing I'm thinking of is, the skin tone and the fabric itself are not that different in value and color. So I'll probably just have to rely on that, and then use some sort of mixture for the areas like in the arm where you could see it's a little bit translucent, but not 100% sure yet.
I accidentally made this man's head way smaller than it should have been.
I do that all the time. I always call the heads way too small or way too big. It's annoying.
That's why I will just hide everything in shadow.
It's suddenly a chiaroscuro piece.
Clara says, this man is Robert Redford. Who's Robert Redford?
There's a lot of exclamation points in there. There's a point you're trying to make, Clara, as if say, like, how could you not know? I think I'm accurate in my assumptions.
Clara says, OMG Cat, I'm so disappointed.
Called it.
What was he in? Jordan, you don't know who Robert Redford is, do you?
No, I don't. But all I'm saying is I think that's what Claire was getting across with those exclamation points. And I'm just saying I called it.
Somehow I know who Patrick Swayze is, but I don't know who this man is.
But we're all learning every day, so.
Thank you, Jordan, for giving me a graceful way out.
I'm good for that. Lisa H says, my heart just broke. Aw. Maria Kilson. Who is Robert Redford? Oh, man, we pissed off a lot of people just now.
Googling Robert Redford. He's an American actor, recipient of various accolades, and the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Okay.
Now we both know. Oh, so it says Robert Redford is the Michael Fassbender of the 70s.
Well, I barely know Michael Fassbender. I only know him because of Clara.
Mm-hmm. Same.
He attended the University of Colorado.
Oh, apparently you're saying it wrong, Kat, the name Redford.
Redford.
What were you saying before?
Redford.
Redford.
Yeah.
Thank you for correcting us on our abysmal knowledge of 70s actors. Robert Redford was in one of the Marvel movies. You know how many Marvel movies there are? MCU alone there's 22, and then there's other Marvel movies outside of that. I don't know if that really narrows it down. The hottest actor in the 70s, so hot there's a desert named better than Robert Redford.
Dessert.
Oh, dessert. Oh, okay. I was like, what? They named a whole landscape after this too? Really? Okay, that makes more sense. Looks like we screwed up. There's a lot of people coming after us now.
Dang.
After we drew for you all. My goodness. That's some slack, y'all.
Yeah.
Especially Kat. She went to the trouble of looking it up on her phone. Okay, there's a little pattern on here on the hat. I'm a little lazy, so I'm just going to do squiggles. Looks like the sky in SpongeBob, or is it sky, ocean top? I'm not really sure how to call it. Whatever clouds they have.
TC says, questions for the both of you. Personally, what technique do you find you're better at? Why, such as pencil, ink, digital? Well, if you're talking about medias, then I prefer pen and ink and marker and digital and chalk pastel. I know that's a lot of medias. But technique, I'm not sure what that entails. Like maybe style. Like I like cartooning over extreme realism, but I also paint realistically. But if I had to say favorite media, it's all the ones I listed before. What would your answer be, Jordan?
Yeah, I like regular pencil and digital if we're talking about mediums. As far as style, I'm very similar to Kat. I like doing cartoony stuff. I like stylized realism. That's a lot of fun where it's not so realistic where it feels like something that should be in a museum from the 1700s or whatever, but also not super cartoony to the point where it feels like it should be neck and neck with the Fairly Odd Parents or something, or any of the characters on my shirt. I got a Cartoon Network shirt with Dexter and Johnny Bravo and stuff. So somewhere in between there, I think is fun.
Okay, I do want to draw a piece of clothing that has pattern on it, so I will be moving on after I color in his tie. Robert's tie.
Use that knowledge.
Oh, cool. There's a head with a headband from the lady from Great Gatsby that I'll draw because there's pattern.
Before the stream started, Claire was like, you can show how you do patterns for some of this. And I was like, yeah, but the pattern brushes in Procreate are not the same as the ones I have in Photoshop. One of the really cool things, for those of you who saw some of those streams, it have some of the sickest pattern brushes I've ever seen in my life. Maybe we can repeat it here somewhere or in another drawing.
And I hope I get this proportion right on the first shot.
I'm try something a little different and slightly more painfully with it. See how well I do.
Maria says, Jordan, on Marvel, he was Alexander Pierce, the head of Hydra inside S.H.I.E.L.D., Captain America, Winter Soldier.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Okay, so I have to watch it again and keep an eye out for him. I haven't seen that movie in a while.
TC says, oh, my question about self-doubt and either doing too much or not enough. How to cope with that as an artist? Sorry, drawing myself. Well, we love to hear that you're drawing, TC. How do you cope with self-doubt as an artist? Well, you learn to live with it because it's never going to go away. Every day you're going to doubt yourself and suffer from imposter syndrome. But I think it's great to have a community that supports you so that if you do feel like, oh, I'm drawing so badly, blah, 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 and then you can have your friends say, well, no, that's not true. You have this and this and this you're strong at, but you could improve in that and that and that. So they can like sort of keep you in check as well. What is your take on that, Jordan? How do you deal with self-doubt?
You know, I think it's a deeper thing than just art. I noticed that a lot of people who deal with or struggle with self-doubt have that plaguing throughout other places in their life. So something that I'm trying to work on is just whenever I hear that voice in my head saying, you can't do this, or this is, this sucks or whatever, is almost telling that voice to just shut up. I know it sounds kind of juvenile and ridiculous on some level, but having a negative mindset, even if it's something you're not trying to do on purpose, while you're being creative, is very, very challenging, and it can add a lot of unnecessary pressure. So just be aware of it when that happens, and find unique ways to combat it, or quote unquote distract yourself. There's a lot of different things that work for people. Shasta Hill says, thanks, Kat, Jordan, Clara, and the community at large. The vids enrich my world, even if I'm a bit preoccupied and if I don't draw along. Well, even if you don't draw along with us, we're still glad you're joining us in the streams and enjoying the videos. Thank you.
Mm. Pattern time. One thing that really bothers me when people don't draw pattern well is they just have the pattern go across the folds of the clothing. So if I'm going to give an example, let's say there's cloth that goes like this, right? It's folded like that. And then one of my pet peeves is if people don't draw the pattern going along the folds of the clothing like that.
Yeah.
See, because pattern changes shape with the folds. It doesn't just go straight through like that. That's impossible. It has to follow the folds.
Yeah. I totally agree. And that again goes with understanding the anatomy and how things are going to actually function. Especially when you're doing something that's more realistic. That would bother me too. I totally get that.
Mm-hmm. Clara says, OMG, Jordan, I love that color palette.
Thank you. I'm so glad you like it. Oh, it's coming out okay. And while we're on the topic, the translucency bit, if all I did here to kind of get the feeling of this arm is I'm mixing in the paint or the color of the skin with the white of the dress and just matching it. And I'm making sure that pretty much every part of the dress, excluding maybe the shadows here, is lighter than the skin. So it just feels more. Askell is saying, question, what made you start drawing? Like inspirations, etc. Also, what keeps you going? Ooh, Kat, you want to take that one first?
How did I start drawing? Well, I think I was always drawing ever since I picked up a pencil. And the more I did it, the better I became. And I liked compliments. So that's probably why I kept drawing when I was little. What about you, Jordan?
Yeah, my story is pretty much the exact same. But I think it started when I was watching Disney movies. I was a huge fan of Hercules, Tarzan, Mulan, Lion King, that type of stuff. And when I found out that that was something you could do for a living, when I was like 6 or 7 years old. I was like, that's what I'm doing. I don't care. Like, and ever since then, I have always wanted to just do art. So I feel very thankful for that in a way, because I know a lot of people don't discover things that quickly.
But it's never too late with art. You can be at any age and just begin. The most important part is beginning.
Right. I feel like, you know, there's some things where it might be challenging with age. You know, like if you want to be an NBA player and you're 48, it might be a little challenging. You know, but if you want to do art, if you want to do music or what, you know, especially something creative, it's never too late.
And don't bum yourself out if you can't be like a professional. It's just trying your best for you.
Right.
Oh, HT Pokepack says, uh-oh, I totally do that. I draw the patterns without considering the folds. A lot of the time, it's something I need practice with, lots of it. Yeah, be very aware of that.
You know, there is something I was there's a show called Kipo, an Age of Wonder Beasts, and I don't know if you've ever watched the show, Kat, but it's on Netflix. And there's and the show has like a bunch of animals in the show, and there's a group of cats who all wear plaid. And if you look at the patterns on it, it's literally just like a mask of a flat plaid design, and no matter what position they're in, it's always the exact same.
Yeah.
And
Well, I've also noticed that for webcomics and cartoons that are produced on a weekly or monthly basis, like people just slap a pattern on, they don't like manipulate it to follow the folds of the clothing because they don't have enough time.
yeah, especially complex pattern like plaid or, you know, whatever. Like some of that stuff just takes way too long, and it becomes a time issue. And there's this one dude, I forget his name, but I saw it on YouTube, and he spent 13 years making the same graphic novel. And one of the things he did was constantly put in a bunch of patterns, and he didn't do anything digitally. Like he would just make everything difficult for himself. And he's like, don't do that. Find shortcuts, guys, please.
I'm also not following the pattern from the reference photo completely, and that's fine. So long as it's just believable, then I've done my job.
Oh, something I want to show you guys real quick that I'm going to try. I don't know how well it's going to work. I'm going to do something called color dodge, which Rockstrand is known for doing this a lot. But basically what it does is it makes things a little bit brighter and gives it like a shine. So what I'm trying to do is kind of create like a subsurface scattering effect on the hat. So it looks like the light is kind of penetrating through. Let's see. You can do this on Procreate as well. There's a tool for it. Haskell says, thanks for that. I recently just started drawing at 14, and it's something I really want to do. Yeah, 14 is not too far gone at all. You're still doing just fine. I mean, there's plenty of artists who don't start until, you know, they're in their 30s, 40s, 50s, or even later than that. It's just about the passion behind it, really.
There's a graphic novel called My Favorite Thing is Monsters, and the author for that book is in her 50s, and that's her first comic ever. So you can be any age.
See how I do it. I'm getting rid of the lines for this one. I'm just seeing how well I can just get the shapes show.
Christian says, thank you for the lesson, but my artistic talent is not good enough. No one's talent is good enough. Most of it is hard work, and you just need to keep at it, Christian.
There's a quote that I learned when I was about 13, and it says, "Hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard." Um, People who simply rely on talent or what they're naturally born with tend to not go as far because they don't want to embrace the effort it takes to actually go from 0 to 100. There's so many artists I can think of who started off with no talent. Matter of fact, a friend of mine, I went to school with, he was at the bottom of the totem pole when it came to skill, but he worked his butt off, and now he's working at an animation studio in Canada. And it's only been 3 years, so he had no talent, and he was 28 when he started this whole thing. He had a whole different career at first. So don't get discouraged by, you know, not having the skill right now. Just put in the work.
Nando says, talent isn't everything. It is your effort which determines how good you are. Yes. This pattern is super time consuming.
The other thing about talent and work is it teaches discipline, which is an incredibly important. It's one of those soft skills that I think is really really important for you to develop throughout your life because like let's say you see someone walking down the street and they're super buff. One of the things that most people automatically realize is like, oh, this person's disciplined because people don't just wake up being naturally buff. Like you have to put in the hours at the gym or working hard to do that. And art is the same way. It's just, don't quit, keep going, push forward. And if you ever need help, you're here at Art Prof. And that's what we're here to help you with.
Mm-hmm. W315 Bird says, talent is a myth. Work and practice is what makes you better. I wouldn't say talent is a myth necessarily. There are some people who are talented in certain parts of art. Like I've seen many students who are able to just see proportion better than other people, like faster. Like, oh, this head is as big as this body, essentially. And some students have to work a lot harder to gain that sight. So I have seen talent in art, but what really propels you forward is not talent in the end, it is work.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely don't think talent is a non-factor. It's just I don't believe in the idea of simply relying on that exclusively. I think that's where I draw the line. Our prof is saying, I kind of love the idea of the pattern being the main spectacle of your drawing, Cat, and leaving the profile of the face very light and barely there.
Yeah, I was totally going for that. Thank you, Clara.
That was hardly convincing, but I'll take it.
I think I was just so absorbed with the pattern, and it's kind of meditative to just like draw a pattern and then fill in the blanks and stuff like that. I'm basically making a coloring book for myself.
Hey, nothing wrong with that. Shasta says, cheers to that, Maria. I think those kind of comparative I'm too late thoughts tend to fade away as we age, even though it sounds backwards, it's generally my experience. I'm not sure. I mean, like I said, art has been one of those things where I've always wanted to do it, but I imagine that if there's something else I wanted to learn, like music or another language, that wouldn't be too late. This might be a little bit more challenging for me later on in life. What's your take on it, Kat?
I didn't quite get the question because I wasn't paying attention, but just in response to what you said, Jordan, I do feel like you will definitely have a different level of skill if you start with these things when you're younger. It's true. I mean, that's a developmental stage. You spend more time with your medium, whether it's music or language or art. So you will have like a different skill when you start out younger. But it doesn't mean that you can't develop your own kind of skill if you start these things when you're older.
Yeah, you basically got the question. You're good.
Okay, good.
Maria says, I have seen talented people not improve because they refuse to listen to critiques. So at the end of the class, they were where they started. Ooh, I've seen that before.
Ooh. Yeah, I've definitely seen that before. People just don't take critique and just do whatever they want.
Rockstar, that's actually really cool how you spelled that. Rockstar says, do you think discipline and creativity are related? I find it's easier to be creative if I practice more. I think that's, yeah, I think they are related. It's like a muscle, right? The more you exercise, the more it's going to come out. So like, let's say you're a storyteller, you write stories. The more you read, the more you write, the more you think of stuff, the easier it's going to be for you versus someone who's completely novice and has no idea what they're doing. And I've been through that. Like I tried to write stories and I had no idea about character arcs and story structure and all that, and I struggled for quite a while. So yeah, I think you're onto something there.
I agree. And also, in line with discipline, you will start to recognize a rhythm that you work at, a rhythm where you start to create. I mean, I wouldn't know that I'm most creative in the shower if I didn't actively pursue that or pursue different ways of trying to be creative. Like, oh, I'm trying to think of a story while walking to school, try to think of a story in the shower, try to think of a story, blah, blah, blah. It's because I've tried it in many places and been very diligent about it that I know the best way to do it. Thank you so much for the super chat, Brittany Edwards. As you guys know, your support helps us keep running. So thank you, Brittany, for supporting this message. Oh, the comment disappeared before I could read it. I'm sorry, Brittany. It says, love this channel and all that you guys do. Thank you.
Appreciate you, Brittany.
I wonder if I should just leave the face super blank.
I think you could get away with that if you wanted to. Maybe fill in some
Maybe
air. Started with that.
Maybe I should do something with the background though. Give it a decorative element.
Yeah. Christian Adams says, how I know what way is good that helps me with anatomy, foreshortening, and perspective. Or how do I know what way is good? Okay. Right now, I've been thinking to have a break for the rest of the year. Sorry for necessarily venting. First off, you don't have to apologize for venting. I don't even consider that venting. I think you're just sharing your perspective on things. I think people learn things differently in a lot of scenarios. So, for example, yesterday on the 100K stream, Clara mentioned how she was not a fan of Andrew Loomis. I'm a huge fan of Andrew Loomis, and I learned a lot from studying his books. And so I think, everyone is built differently. Everyone has a unique way of thinking. So find a method that works for you. But I will say, just make sure you don't give up. And there is a way to understand these things. Sometimes you just need the right teacher or the right explanation.
This is becoming very sketchbooky. Maybe. I don't know. I could totally be messing up this drawing right now, but I'll just draw a pattern in the background too. Why not?
Little. You can. The good thing is you can always recreate if you want to. It'll take you a couple minutes and then you really think about it.
It's so light. I don't like the addition of the pink. It's too kitschy. I wish I didn't do it, but you know what? It's okay. Mistakes were made.
The learning process. I don't know if I would consider it kitschy though. Why do you say that?
I just don't like how it looks. I liked it before. I say as I desperately try to cover up the pink. I liked it before, but it's okay. I'll just keep moving forward.
You ever watch that movie, Meet the Robinsons?
No, I have not.
You know what that is?
It sounds so familiar. Oh, people are going to rip me apart in the chat for not knowing this either.
Oh, I don't think they will. It's a Disney movie from 2007, I believe. And it's about this kid who basically he gets teleported to the future. And one of the sayings of the person that everyone idolizes is "keep moving forward." And just when you said that, reminded me of that. Yeah. But let's see. But anyway, guys, thank you all for watching our live stream. Please subscribe to our channel, like a video, leave a comment, whatever you got to do. And we also want to let you know that right after the stream, we'll be doing a post-live stream stage session where you'll be able to talk to us on audio. And we also want to say thank you to all of our Patreon supporters. You guys are what keeps our Prof going. So thank you so much. And we're also trying to fill up this third page. So get on it, guys. But thank you anyway. Anyway, guys, have a great night. See you next time. Take care.